good afternoon. Today is the 22nd of November, and it's time for yet another not particularly interesting, very vague, and probably quite boring vlog. So, as is usual, when I have done a job for a client, we're going to be looking at sort of what happened with that. First of all, we're on the way to get the Volvo cleaned because I've done quite a lot of miles over the last 10 days. Oh, we're just passing the gritter lorry. There it is. There's the gritter lorry. So it's absolutely filthy. Even down here in South Hampshire, it's not very common for it to snow here at all. It really doesn't most of the time. But it snowed yesterday, and we're still in November, which is very unusual. So the thing's absolutely filthy, and so it needs sorting out. I mean, this car is one of the most rust-resistant things of its era. Like, you know, you don't really hear of S40s and V50s of this type actually getting rust at all. So C30s, yes, they're based on a slightly different platform, which is more closely related to the Ford Focus. But this is Volvo's own adaptation of that platform, the longer version, and just never see rusty ones unless they've been damaged or something. So, you know, they're actually very hardy cars. You think all the Swedish winters they're designed to sort of face. But nevertheless, it's good to take care of it anyway, so we're going to go get it cleaned. I was blessed recently to be contacted by a family member of someone I'd done a job for a couple of years ago. Actually live locally to here, so unlike a lot of the jobs I do, I don't need to sort of travel somewhere to do the job or stay overnight or anything like that. I can just drive there in sort of a very short space of time and get on with it. So actually, this chap at the moment, he's had a 2013 Seat Me for a long time, and a few years ago I got a car for one of the other people in his family, which actually was a car that you would have seen on Sensible Secondhand Reviews at the time, say Mazda 2. It's a very nice Mazda 2 actually, that one. It's a lovely condition, unusual colour, sort of like a bright green. So yeah, he was recommended to me that way, and he just wanted to sort of change really. There was perhaps a potential problem with his Seat, which he's had since 2015, a long time. It's an FR Sport model. It's it's a Sport model, not FR Sport, Sport model. Unusually with the Me's, because most of them are the 59 brake horsepower 1 litre 3-cylinder. This is a 73, so it's an unusual car in that respect. It's got heated seats in it, which obviously the other day when we were going round in it was very useful. Obviously my heated seat is on today, and in the Sanion we've got heated steering wheel as well, so that's handy for the weather at the moment. And he just, he fancied a slightly bigger car. There's a potential issue with the gearbox, so it wasn't manifesting itself at all when we took it round, so it could be that that's nothing, I'm not sure. But he wanted a larger car anyway, a bit more power. 73 is not a lot of power particularly, it's alright. So I looked around, and there's lots of things within his budget. I mean, the budget was 5,000 to 7,000, lots of things we could get for that. So we're looking at sort of smaller cars, slightly larger than the Me, but not too big. So we looked at an MG3. The first car we saw, it had done not very many miles, I think 40,000 or something, 17. It was a Form Sport, which was the second most popular trim level. The top trim levels was Style Plus and Style Luxe, and then the Style were the sort of most popular ones, but Form Sports were quite popular as well. This one had quite a few issues with it actually. I mean, obviously I know those cars like the back of my hand. The second car ever on the channel was a 2014 MG3 Style that we owned at the time. So I know these cars like the back of my hand, and it drove sort of okay. The gearbox is a little bit sticky, and they're not the most refined car, but they were quite cheap. This one was up for just over £5,000. So it's after the very slight facelift we did in 2016, where they introduced a tiny little strip of chrome onto the grille and fitted all the cars with a start-stop system. It's one of those, which coincided really with the production moving from Longbridge, although it was only knockdown kit form anyway, to be built entirely in China. So that was, like I said, you know, it was different problems with it. Like, you know, parcel shaft was slightly broken. I think the person selling it said all the 3 tyres had been changed, but when I saw it, only 1 tyre had been changed. Something to look out for. I've seen people do this a few times. Like they say, most of the time been changed. They change one of them and just black the tyres and hope you don't notice. Which of course I notice because I'm used to it now. But it's a bit of a shame that people think that's a perfectly honest way of doing business. I think also there's some problem with the seatbelt. Like it was all twisted up sort of up here and down underneath. And I think maybe that a belt been off or something, or someone just messed it up. So that would have needed addressing as well. But it was okay. But I sort of thought maybe we need to look at some others. I never recommend seeing just one car ever. I never recommend that. Don't buy the first car you see until you've seen some others. It could be the first car you see is the best one. Had that happened before, but just don't just see one car. It's just not a good idea really. You've got nothing to compare it against. So next we're going to see a very nice car. It was a 2015 Ford Fiesta Mark 7. 1.25 CTEC 3-door with options on it actually. So we had some nice options of powerful mirrors and parking sensors on this one. It only done I think 32,000 miles. It's 3-door. Most people like 5-door. This is a 3-door. And a nice bright red colour. It was really good actually. £7,000, which was the most expensive car of the day, but it was really nice. Like nothing wrong with it. The only thing I would say I needed to be doing on it was the cam belt. The cam belt needed replacing, which was something I wasn't quite sure whether they were going to do or not. But it was immaculately presented, drove in a really nice way. I love the 1.25 and 1.4 petrol CTEC SE engined Fiesta Mark 7, so I could source those all day. This was just as good as the one I drove end of October, which I can't remember if anybody's going to sell or not, but that was also a really immaculate example facelifted 1.25 CTEC Fiesta Mark 7. So no problems with that. Then we saw a 2017 Hyundai i10, which unfortunately, because it was a 1 litre one, I've driven 3 versions of that Mark II i10, the 1 litre, the 1.2 manual, 1.2 auto. I've forgotten just how much better the 1.2 is than the 1 litre. 1 litre's okay if you only really drive around town, but considering we're going from like a Seat Me, which is about 6 horsepower more than this, it was just very slow, and the interiors are very plain. They're really good cars actually, the i10s, but they're just a little bit bland as far as I'm concerned. They drive absolutely perfectly. The Kappa 2 engines in them are very good. It's just they're just a little bit on the bland side, and this one was just noisy and slow because of the 3-cylinder and 1 litre. Obviously the miles per gallon will be very good on it, and the only thing I could see wrong with it, bodywork was really good, interior was good, load motoring 30,000 miles, was that the clutch cable I think needed adjusting slightly, because the cable clutch may not be nice as gear change. You can't do it too much, but you can slightly adjust them if you want to. For some reason Kia and Hyundai, which mechanics are the same, have the cars set up with the clutch biting quite high. I don't know why, but that's just the way that it is. So we saw that was I think 6,000 or something. And then we went to see 2 other cars. One was a 2016 Corsa E, 1.4 with I think 37,000 miles on it. It was a black 5-door with the 89 horsepower engine. Actually, that was a much better car than I expected. That was again about 6,000. Corsa E's are quite good cars. They're not as nice as the Fiesta. The gearbox isn't quite as good, the handling's not quite as good, but they're still actually pretty good in comparison with lots of other cars like that. And I thought it would be very bland. He originally said on the list of cars we had to see, it was his least favourite one. But actually he really warmed to it. I was quite surprised. I thought he was just going to dismiss it immediately, but he didn't. He actually quite liked it. There wasn't much wrong with it. I think it needed a pair of drop links, which is quite obvious when I was driving it, if it needs some drop links. I think a number plate light bulb. Out of all the cars we saw, that was the only one that didn't need a service and didn't need an MOT. Most of them were okay with MOTs, but they all needed servicing. But the only one was on sale that didn't need a service. It had been done. So that was good. And then the last one was a private seller, which is unusual for me because I don't tend to actually get too many cars from private sellers anymore. It was a 2017 Nissan Micra 900cc turbo. It's quite well equipped actually. It had a sat nav and lane keeping assist and things like that on it. That was 5,300. Had a bit of damage on it, which needed addressing because the paint had sort of come off one of the cells, which I imagine was evidence of a repair but not been done properly in part of it. But there's no dents or anything. It's just the paint had come off. So I think maybe £300-400 to have that done. Apart from that, the lady just kind of didn't need it anymore. She'd got another car and just decided to change it for reasons I'm not quite sure why. It was nice and well equipped and everything like that, but I couldn't help thinking that we got this uncertainty. The MOT was a little bit short on it, and with the sell, it could be a fair bit of money. When you're sort of looking at cars that are quite similar in price, and you're sort of factoring this in, and the fact that with a private seller, not that there's any, I think, handed to hide, but you don't get the same legal rights as well with a private seller at all. You just don't, and this is something that High Peak Autos, Chops Garage, Car UK, all these chaps who are traders will tell you it's true. In the end, we finished the day having seen 5 cars, and actually the next morning we discussed it, and my client said, I actually want the Corsa. This is the car he said was bottom of his list before we actually started the day, and so we did a deal on that, and actually one of my trader friends is going to pick up his say at me. He's done a deal on him as well, so there we go. You just never know on the start of the day like what someone's going to prefer. You don't know at all. You don't know necessarily at the end of the day somebody will be ready to make the decision there and then, but in the end we kind of got there, and I've actually sourced quite a few Vauxhalls recently for some reason, but it'd be quite good value for money, in the sense that Fiesta was just a bit more money, and but they do drive better. I think if that had been me making the decision, I would have definitely chosen the Fiesta. I think I would have done. It was a little bit more money, but it was nice. It wasn't needed a cam belt and things, but it was good. I could source those all day for most people, really. But the Corsa, some people prefer them. I think you prefer the look of it, to be honest, which is fine. I think the Corsa is a really nice looking car. There's nothing fundamentally too wrong with them. They're just there's quite a few of them around, and some people don't like them. That's just personal preference, really. But that's it, I think. Thank you ever so much once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more very vague and not particularly interesting musing.